population strives for independence and free routes in opposition to the regulations of the state and other institutions. As Michel de Certeau observes, urban individuals intend to create fluid, hybrid, and chaotic environments, postmodern spaces. De Certeau calls the practice tactics, when urban dwellers follow illegible lines, hide in the shadows, live underground, and enjoy their subculture. Institutions, however, try to create univocal, readable, modernist cities with clear views, symmetry, and demarcations via their strategies. The urban planner intends to control, observe, and man the city, in a way similar to Michel Foucault's famous description of the panopticon, Jeremy Bentham's prototype of imprisonment and surveillance. The film's main character, Miguel, Alan Chavez, another Mexican character, manifests the figure of the flawed consumer, Bauman's vagabond, the urban dweller who evades the barriers and hides from surveillance. One stormy night, he and his two friends who live in the slums breach the walls of La Zona and make a futile and tragic attempt to burglarize a luxurious home. Two of the delinquents, a homeowner and a security guard, are killed. Miguel escapes from the scene but remains trapped in the city. The burglars suspect an inside job, embark on a hunt for the boy and the supposed traitors. Alejandro, the driver of whom we saw in the short racetrack, Alejandro hides Miguel in the basement of his family home, but eventually the local residents find Miguel and bludgeon him to death, in a way similar to Easy Rider, if you like, if you remember that scene. Miguel is living a figure who is simultaneously inside the city and outside cigarette prostitution, visible and invisible, quote, an almost ghost-like figure. There's a moment in the film when this Miguel gets out of his hiding place because he sees a police officer, a police detective. And the police detective gets the instruction from his supervisors that he cannot interfere in Lazona's business. So basically what he does is he ignores this guy. Although he knows that he could save the boy, he ignores the boy. He decides not to see the boy. So he's literally ignored, he's literally not seen by the authorities. Miguel literally lives underground and hides in the shadows, escapes through the sewers, evades surveillance, which eventually catches up with him. He resembles Giorgio Agamben's Homo sapien, whose, quote, human life is included in the juridical order, solely in the form of its exclusion, that is, of its capacity to be killed. The closed community becomes a military state, Agamben's state of exception, quote, which is a suspension of the juridical order itself. It defines those thresholds or limit concepts. Thus, the film follows the long-standing SF tradition, which often turns utopian environments and societies into dystopias. As Freddie Jameson says, the function of utopian genre is, quote, to bring home our constitutional inability to imagine utopia itself. The idea of a fortified utopian suburb, the city of on a hill, is therefore explicitly undermining the film. The walls have been penetrated. Certain residents move away. As you could see, there are some residents who are packing. Certain residents move away, and Alejandro rebels against the community when buries Miguel outside the zone. When he returns, because as I mentioned, in a way we see as he returns to the frame structure. When he returns to the city, he, just like the audience, sees the city from a new, much more critical perspective. And in the remaining few minutes, let's say 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about the other film, Sleep Dealer. The film focuses on Memo, a young boy in a remote Mexican village who wants to be a hacker in spite of the family's agricultural way of life. His fate is tragically altered when an American corporate industrial intelligence agency and military organization locates Memo's radio intercept, bombs his home, and kills his father. Memo moves to Tijuana, where he joins a new form of Mexican workforce employed in sweatshops to operate remote machines in an online virtual reality environment for American companies and families. He is contacted via his girlfriend by Rudy Ramirez, the Chicano pilot who controlled the combat drone that killed Memo's family. Ramirez makes friends with Memo and eventually clears his conscience by blowing up the dam that cut off the agricultural workers in Memo's village from water. The film, before launched in cinemas, was accompanied by a viral marketing campaign, a bogus website that advertised a revolutionary virtual, immaterial labor, or the work without the workers. Accordingly, the novum of the film is that Mexican workers do not have to enter the US for their job. They can do it in a virtual reality environment in Mexico. This premise defines the whole world of the film. A major new idea is that the physical borderline between the two countries becomes negligible. Hardly anyone wishes to enter the US physically. For example, in one scene, Mano and his girlfriend and several other Mexicans swimming and have fun in the sea, which is just next to the border. And the border is made of these kind of wooden picket fence, this wooden high pole fence, if you like. And they go, quote, where the border wall ends. This high pole fence, which separates the two countries, and which is much less strict than the actual borderline fence between Mexico and the US at present day, with the gaps in between, give the probably false impression that the wall is symbolic, approachable, and penetrable. When Memo later looks through this wall, the point of view shot displays that the border control trucks are quite far, and the sea on the other side is deserted, showing the sublime beauties of nature. Something similar to this picture. Analogously, when Ramirez enters Mexico, the other character, the Chicano character who comes from the US to Mexico, the road is deserted, and he does not have to wait in a long queue of cars at the checkpoint. His car is the only one there. The border control officer is a robot with a polite, Asian accented female voice. True, there's a machine gun attached to the camera. This indicates that contemporary economic and social borders do not disappear, but they are more complex, real, virtual, and implicit. This follows the American cyberpunk tradition of William Gibson and films like the Matrix franchise, when it describes and somewhat revels in the post-human body of the future. The futuristic and in part already existing digital technology is also celebrated, such as VR, smart TVs, combat drones, immaterialization of human workforce, hacking, uploaded memories, and so on. This optimistic attitude towards the future is perhaps the most obvious when there's cybersex in the film. I mean, we already heard this in this conference about sexting or sexual texting, whatever. So they actually have sex with the help of nodes, while at the same time doing it physically. So what is important here that cybersex adds to the physical experience, at least in the film, does not replace it. The film, however, also characterizes the downsides of contemporary globalized economy and technological society. In its cyberpunk future, Mexicans still work in constructions, fruit picking, babysitting, and other typical menial jobs of current immigrants. This illustrates the stereotypically gendered and racial work distribution of the present. A Mexican woman's robot is a nanny in Washington, a man's robot is a slaughterhouse worker, and man works ice steel. The film also criticizes contemporary reality shows and news networks that give live coverage from combat scenes when it features a fictional program titled Drones, which is a mixture of present-day reality series Cops and news network footages of airstrikes in the Middle East. The program broadcasts live the combats of the military organization that works for a giant multinational company that privatizes water reservoirs in Mexico, Colombia, and probably other third world countries. The TV program, emphatically not restricted for an adult audience. They even say, if you have a kid, you want your kid to watch this. Shows live how surgical airstrikes are deployed against the Aqua terrorists, including Manu's father. This is a realistic description of contemporary neoliberal capitalism from a critical perspective, where the globalized economy turns, quoting Mark Boat, a common shared resource into commodity, and where the distinction between national military and corporate paramilitary more or less completely eroded. In conclusion, my presentation intended to demonstrate how two Latin American films portray and deconstruct traditional American images and conventions. Both films describe age-old icons of the American culture from Mexican and Latin American perspective, showing how the ideals of the USA become corrupted and devastating due to the contemporary neoliberal globalized economy. first film, deconstructs the image of the westernized suburb, the American utopia of city upon a hill, showing the failure of a closed community. Sleep Dealer features a more futuristic world, the current trends towards the technologized society, warfare, the virtualization of entertainment and capitalism. It gives an up-to-date criticism of the current American media, the American dream, the frontier myth, and the image of the US as the land of opportunities for the immigrants, as well as the traditional rags to riches narrative. And I know unfortunately I need to cut this presentation a little bit. So if it's not quite clear, for example, how in Sleep Dealer the rags to riches narrative appears, or other of these American images appear, please ask it afterwards, you can ask questions. And thank you very much for